Hi everyone, my name is Linda Reid Enever. I'm the founder of Business. Clive, as you can see onto my leftish bit over here, is our co-founder, and we are currently joined today with Kara Lambert, who is coming in to talk to us about overcoming fear and imposter syndrome. Now, we booked this webinar in late last year. We did not know exactly how well timed it would be in the changing circumstances. Kara and I have known each other for about 10 years now, where we've been talking about stuff. Kara is a well-known psychology, social media marketer, and really has a powerful lot of knowledge when it comes to sharing your story with your audience and getting it out there in the right way where people connect with it. And today we are here with a slight change and adjustment, but we are going to talk about fear, and we're going to talk about how we can overcome it and how we can make the most of it. Is that maybe not the right terminology, but how we can embrace it within our business and continue to move forward. Kara, welcome.
Thank you, Linda, and thank you, Clive, for having me again. And yeah, we booked this back in the start of December 2019, and how are we to know that this is going to be so relevant? So the first thing I wanted to get people to do before I jump into the slides is to do a little exercise with me. Shake your arms, have them drop down by the sides, shake them down low, and make them feel like they're really, really heavy. Heavier, like a little kid is pulling on your arm again. Yeah, right.
Come on, Clive, join in.
Oh, come on, Clive, you remember what it's like to have someone pull on your arm.
I do.
Did I make that noise right too?
Or I can send Charlotte your way and she can just do it.
Okay, so the thing is when we're caught in fear, two main things happen. This, you end up with shoulders for earrings, so drop your shoulders. The next thing I'm going to get you to do is a breathing exercise. It's actually a yoga breathing technique. So I'm going to do it with you guys. So you breathe in for a count of 4, 3, 4, hold it for 4, 3, 4, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Do it again. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. I have to be honest, I have been doing this multiple times a day. Generally when I jump in the car to head to the shops, or when I have to go anywhere public. I'm doing this breathing exercise.
I was doing a very similar exercise while live this morning, I understand.
Yep. So one of the things that we'll find is that we stop breathing when we're confronted by fear, because we're waiting to be pounced on by that saber-toothed tiger. So breathing is really important, and it's a skill that sports shooters, pentathletes who do shooting, people who do archery, they have to control their breath and their heart rate so that they can actually time the shots between their heartbeats. So being able to do that lowers your heart rate, helps you breathe deeper into the bottom of your lungs, so not breathing in the top of your lungs, and it just reduces the impact of fear in your body. So that's how I wanted to start. Not generally how I start this presentation, but I will. So I now need to go over to my slides.
I'm going to mute myself and just feed in any questions we might get from the group. Do you want questions at the end today, Kara, or midway through?
At the end is fine.
Beautiful. We will throw them through. People watching the live stream on Facebook, I will be monitoring for questions today, and we'll get them through as best we can, as long as the technology does not fail us. As per normal, if you're in the Zoom session, by all means, ask your questions via Q&A, and we'll come to them towards the end.
So can you guys see the slides up on the screen?
All do.
Fantastic. So let's go. So today what we're talking about is the 5 faces of fear. So how fear actually shows up to most people. What imposter syndrome is and what's in my fear toolkit. So I actually go through an example of when I was speaking. So I was invited to speak at my first interstate speaking conference, which was on the psychology of social media, and all of the different tools that I used in that toolkit. Who am I? I'm Kara Lambert. I'm a business consultant. I have a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. I have a Graduate Diploma of Management. I'm a mentor for the New Venture Institute at Flinders University, which is a program that they use for entrepreneurship and for venture development, and for, it's a, what do they call it? A startup hub. And I'm the brand ambassador for South Australia for the Social Media Marketing Institute of Australia. And my focus there is the psychology of social media. So if you get the hint, very much about social media, very much about psychology. I want to start with this quote, in that the reason why overcoming fear and imposter syndrome is really important for business owners is that when people come to me to understand social media, I give them the tips and the tools and the techniques. But then what happens a lot of the time is they say, but Kara, I'm actually afraid of posting online. I'm afraid of what will be said. I'm afraid of promoting myself. I don't know what to do to overcome that. And that's how I brought this offer into being, because there was a need. People needed it, and I could help them with my skills in psychology. So very often we see this quote, you're far too smart to be the only thing standing in your way. And I used to use it a lot to motivate myself. But the problem is when you have imposter syndrome, you generally are far too smart to be standing in your way. So it's a good segue into these 5 faces of fear, which is how generally fear will show up, how you will know that fear is impacting on you and your business. So imposter syndrome is you worry that you're going to be caught out. You have that feeling of who do you think you are? You have perfectionism. Most of the research says that people are high achieving. Most of the people who have imposter syndrome are women. That does not mean that men do not suffer from imposter syndrome. It's just that most of the research has found that it's more women than men. And they're a type A personality. I actually went through treatment for an anxiety condition, and at a period of time, my psychologist sent me off to a psychiatrist to help get a diagnosis. And the only diagnosis he could come back with was, Kara, you've got a type A personality, which means I'm high achieving. The thing about imposter syndrome is that a lot of the times you're trying to achieve the level of performance that you perceive is needed by a boss, a client, somebody else who's putting the pressure on you. They're not necessarily there. It's your perception of what they think they want. And you can never achieve it because they've never set them. So that's imposter syndrome. Procrastination. I don't know about you, Clive and Linda, but at this point in time, Facebook is off of my laptop and I work very hard not to pick up my phone and suddenly scroll through the news feed, because it's a procrastination technique. It helps us, feel some sense of security, knowledge. We crave knowledge in uncertain times. And so procrastination is one of the ways that we do it. Procrastination can also show up as self-doubt. Am I doing the right thing? Or a fear of being judged. So a lot of my clients will procrastinate about putting out social media posts. They say, oh, but it's because it's not good enough, it's not perfect. But realistically, what it's hiding is a fear of being judged. Judgment. So this is judgment of self, which links to the self-doubt, but it's also judgment of others. And what you will find is if you're being run with fear, you'll go, oh, but they didn't do it right. They didn't do it that way. They've made the wrong choice. It's not my... And you'll put the blame and judgment on somebody else. The last one is physical feelings in your body. Now, remember at the start of this, I got you to loosen your shoulders. Your shoulders and neck might feel a little bit tight. Your throat might feel a little bit tight if you go to speak. You find that you're not breathing properly, which is why I taught you that breathing technique. You might feel nauseous. I know with my kids, when they get anxious, they say, Mum, I feel sick. My stomach hurts. It's that tightness in their stomach. Adrenaline actually feeds into our stomach. You may get headaches. I know I've been stuck. Normally wear glasses, but they shine terribly on recordings. So I take them off when I'm recording. There's some of the things and some of the ways that you may outwardly show. There could be the first indicators that you're feeling fearful in your business, not just in these uncertain times, but just in general. I know when I got up to speak, while I don't have a fear of speaking, I'll go into the story a little bit later, my stomach hurt. It was in knots. I had butterflies. They're all normal feelings, and that's how fear just shows up in our bodies. So you got imposter syndrome. Who do you think you are? You're going to get caught out. You're going to be called a fake or a phony. You procrastinate. You do something else to put it off, delaying the inevitable. Self-doubt. You know, I'm no good. This isn't going to work. Checking in with others. You ever seen those posts in groups of, what do you think? I'm trying to decide which logo to put up. It's fear. A lot of those, some of them are asking for advice. A lot of the time it's fear of making the wrong decision. Fear of failure, fear of success comes under self-doubt as well. I actually had a fear of success, which might seem weird. Failure for me is familiar and common, and it shows progress. Fear of success, well, you don't know where that's going to end up. It's an ever-shifting goalpost. Judgment, so judgment of self and judgment of others, and those physical indicators in your body. So let's dig a little bit deeper into imposter syndrome. I don't deserve this. I'm not good enough. I'm going to get caught out. You're going to catch me for being the fraud and the fake that I know that I am. This isn't real. I didn't make this great thing happen. I just got lucky. And like I said, this is the domain of high achieving people, generally females, and generally people who put what they believe are the expectations of others on themselves. That's a reason why, for your sake in business, it's good to set your clients' expectations very early on when you start working with them. It's not just for their benefit, it's also for your own as well. So I'm going to get through this with a story. This is the toolkit, and you will have them all at the end. So let me start with a little story. Last year, I applied to speak at Social Media Marketing Summit, and I applied to speak on the psychology of social media. Big Australian conference. It was my first interstate speaking gig, and it was the first one that I actually had to apply for. Other times I'd been invited to speak at conferences. And so what I had to do was I actually had to apply. And just hitting that button, I got crushed by imposter syndrome. Who do you think you are? Nobody wants to hear this. Nobody likes, you know, psychology of social media. It's not important, all of these kinds of things. So what I had to do was align with my core value. So the reason why values are so important is because we've got these 5 drivers of our behavior, and Clive's seen this before. So normally the biggest driver of human behavior, and this is you, your staff, or your clients, is fear. We act and react from fear. Most people think that goals are really good drivers of human behavior, but I don't know how many people actually continue with their New Year's resolutions to exercise more, drink more water, or lose weight. Their goals. They generally are really poor motivators, and this is why they tend to fail, because they're right up the top. They're not very good at driving our behavior. However, our fears are incredibly good. Lead to overbuying toilet paper, perhaps. Needs. We didn't really need, the 30-odd rolls of toilet paper. Oh, and by the way, on that exact same thing, I've seen a lot of psychologists going, I had to fight the urge. So please, whilst I'm making light of that situation, it is a psychological need that we have. So please don't feel bad if you did it and then realize, what did I just do? Okay, just don't continue. Needs, beliefs and values. So on the previous screen, I said that I needed to align with my values. The thing about values is that when we're behaving outside of our values, we get this thing psychologists call dissonance. And it creates unease and uncertainty, and you kind of feel a bit off, you kind of feel a bit sick. You don't feel like you're making the right decision. You doubt yourself a lot. However, when you act in alignment with your values, you feel quite comfortable with what you've done and reassured. So people might be asking, okay, Kara, but I see beliefs there as well. What's the difference between a belief and a value? Very simple definition. A belief is a thought that we hold as truth, and it's based on our lived experiences. So that's the reason why religions are seen as beliefs. They're thoughts that are held as truths. And the other key thing is that they're based on our lived experiences. So depending on what church you go to and what the way that scripture is taught, you will have a slightly different understanding of your religion compared to somebody else and how their scripture is taught at their church or their place of worship. Values, however, are universal. So those are things like courage, love, trust, honesty, integrity. It doesn't matter where we are. It doesn't matter what our lived experiences are. If I was to ask anyone, regardless of their ethnicity, their gender, their schooling, it doesn't matter. We would all have a very similar understanding of these values. So for me, my core value is courage. So I hit the button to send my speaking application using courage. I had to act in alignment with my values, and that removed the fear. At the moment, I'm using it a lot. Kara, courage is your main thing. I've just pulled my kids out of school. I've had to do that out of courage because in my state, schooling is still in place. Change the task or environment. So I'd applied, I'd done all of the slides, and it comes to the day before I was flying out. And I'm sitting there going over and over and over my slides, making sure I could hit those dates on that piece of research, the names of the researchers, all of those kinds of things. I hit the mark all the time. What I suddenly realized was I felt my stomach churning. I was getting anxious and I spoke quicker and quicker. I wasn't breathing properly. And so I stopped and I thought, hang on a minute. Just yesterday, you went through all of these dates, all of these facts, all of these figures on a client call that was booked like hours earlier. You know this stuff, Kara. So what I did was I shut my laptop, put it away, and I took myself out for lunch. I changed my task and I changed my environment. Now, you don't necessarily have to go take yourself out for lunch. Get up, go for a walk around, go for a walk outside, make yourself a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, grab a glass of water, go and speak to somebody, go and call somebody. Just change. It only needs to be 5 minutes where you remove yourself from that environment and do something different. I was then able to come back and work normally. So what then happened going into it was I had to arrive the day before the conference because there was a VIP event. That's very normal when you're invited to speak, that there is a speaker dinner the night before. And so I expected it to be a speaker dinner. What I subsequently found out was that a lot of or VIPs were actually invited to the dinner and they were in attendance. And I went, oh, hang on a minute, this isn't what I signed up for. These are people that I don't know. These are, you know, potential clients. These are agencies and business owners. Oh, crap. What am I going to do? I wasn't prepared for this. So what I did was I got in contact with one of my speaker friends in the US who speaks on social media. And I said to him, Brian, what do I do? And he said to me, Kara, just look at look at it this way. They've bought your time. That's all they've done, is they've bought an hour of your time. And so I was okay. So I spoke to someone I knew and trusted and who was in the field with me, who I knew understood the situation that I was walking into. Talk to someone. Square breathing. So I got to the event, I got to the dinner, and it was in Sydney. I don't go to Sydney very often. I'm in Adelaide. And so I was walking in and I quite literally had to do that breathing technique. I had to breathe in for a count of 4. I held my breath for a count of 4. I breathed it out for a count of 4. And I held not having a breath for a count of 4. And I did it another 2 times. And what it does is it brings me back down. It centers me. And I was able to walk into the restaurant confidently, knowing that I'd spoken to somebody, I had shifted my mindset, and I had calmed the anxiety down that I had in my body. So dinner went fine. The following day, I was second up after lunch to speak in the conference. So the conference organizer said, great, can you make sure you're there half an hour beforehand to get mic'd up? And it was fine. The people who were speaking before me, I didn't realize were Facebook. So I had to speak at a social media conference directly after 2 women who work for Facebook. No pressure. Straight after lunch. I'm thinking, oh, great. Everyone, you know, their blood's going to be going to their stomach to digest their lunch. I've got to back up Facebook. Yeah, no pressure. Okay. So I'm sitting in the back of the room. There are no mics. Being mic'd up doesn't faze me. I'm very used to it. There are no mics. They're using a lectern mic. So I'm sitting there. Getting up on stage is fine. It's the bit beforehand that I tend to start to freak out a little bit. So I had to have a word to myself. Kara, get off self. This is not about you. Anybody who has the knowledge you have and the information that I have, other than my experiences, is freely available on the internet. All of the research that I cite is freely available. Get off self. This is not about you. This is about the message, and it's about delivering good content to your audience. So it is no different from you if you're about to go into a pitch situation where you're about to pitch to clients in a room or through Skype or a video call. It's actually not about you. It's about them. and they don't deserve your nerves. They deserve your knowledge and your attention and your expertise, not your nerves. So the thing is that our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is actually that we are more powerful beyond measure, and it is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us the most. So basically, it's not that we're really afraid of failure, it's that we're afraid of being successful and just how great we can become. For me, it was the impact that would have on my family. And I don't know for certain what that impact will actually be. So I had to change the way I thought about my personal fear of success. So I got up and I spoke, and I'd like to say that it went well, but it didn't. The tech failed. I was without slides for half of my presentation. It wasn't videoed, though it was meant to be. I had tech people coming up and fiddling with stuff, but it was fine. The show went on and all was good. So that night, there was a gala dinner and there was an awards dinner. And so I was an awards judge. And I walked into this great big dining hall, and all I could feel was people staring at me going, "Kara, who do you think you are?" I'm sure we've all walked into a situation and felt like all of the eyes of the rooms are on us. What I had to remind myself was that fear and excitement feel exactly the same way in our bodies. Those butterflies are the same when we're excited as when we're fearful. Our heart racing is the same when we feel fear as when we feel excitement. And those sweaty palms that you might get, exactly the same for fear and excitement. I tricked my brain. I said, "Kara, you're not fearful, you're just excited. This is the fun part. You've done the hard work. This is where you get to sit back and relax and enjoy. Yeah, you have to get up on stage at least once, but this is fun." So walking into the room, I was sure everyone was saying, "Who does she think she is? She doesn't belong here. We're all agencies. We're all big Sydney agencies." Agencies who run campaigns for the likes of Telstra, Weber Australia, and the Australian Ballet all attend this conference. The award ceremony. So it is big agencies, and they are big tables with lots of people on, and I walked in alone. And I could swear they were all looking at me and judging me as I walked and sat at the head table. And then I got called up on stage as one of the awards judges. And then I got called up on stage to be announced as one of the ambassadors. And after that, I swore all the looks changed from "who do you think you are" to "so that's who you are." I don't know that any of that's actually true. It was just the story that my brain was telling itself. See, the thing is when we have gaps in our knowledge, our brain will go to the stories that we usually play in our heads. And for me, it's imposter syndrome. Remember, type A personality. Who do you think you are? That's my standard story. So my brain filled in the gaps for me with "who do you think you are?" It was what I was holding as truth, but it was not truth at all. So pay attention to the kind of stories you play in your head. They may not be truths. And I don't know if anyone heard this growing up. The more you hear someone say something, the closer it becomes to being a truth or being your story. Please be kind to yourself with the stories you tell yourself, because they're not always true. Your brain fills in the gaps, like I said. it wasn't actually the case. In fact, a lot of those people and a lot of those agency heads were really nice people, and we're great friends now. So this one is a rather large and rather long and rather well quoted piece of work. It is a piece from Theodore Roosevelt, and it is generally called the Man in the Arena speech. And it says, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, and don't we all as business owners, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails, at least fails daring greatly. So that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory or defeat." Now, for any of you know Brené Brown, you will know that this quote is how she came across the title of her book, Daring Greatly. I have Brené Brown to thank for pointing me in the direction of this speech. So the key parts are the credit belongs to the man in the arena. And as Brené Brown says, who is getting their ass kicked, but who is striving, who is failing, and who is working hard. So my thing is do you have someone in the arena with you? When you are feeling judged, or when you are feeling fearful, go to that person. If you're feeling fearful, talk to them. Like I spoke to my friend Brian, he's in that arena with me, getting his ass kicked. Talk to them. Now, the beauty of this is when I first came across this, I wrote down the names of 3 people who were in the arena with me. And if ever I was online and I felt targeted, trolled, attacked in any way, I looked at that list of names, and if the person who I felt was judging me, if their name was not on that list, it was very simple. They were not in the arena with me, and so their opinion did not matter. So for me, the last thing that I did was being at that gala dinner. Now, those agencies might run agencies, but they didn't get up there as judges. They didn't get up there as ambassadors. So it did not matter to me what they thought. They were not in the arena with me. They were clients, potentially, essentially, but they were not in the arena. So it did not matter what they thought of me in the very end. So that's it. You can find me. I'm all over social media as karalambert.com. That's my email address. That's my web address. And below that, at the very end, is a free worksheet that actually goes through. It'll have a list of those toolkit items, so you can print it off and use it, refer to it. It'll also have the arena speech if you want a copy of that as well, and the articles, a little box for you to write out who those people are, and an activity on your core values. Because to be perfectly honest, the biggest thing for me is actually behaving in alignment with my core values and making sure that the people that I listen to are actually in the arena. Like Clive and Linda are. Clive and Linda are in the arena with me, getting their butts whooped. So, So I respect you guys very greatly, and I thank you for allowing me to come and help the community at this time.
Absolute pleasure to have you here, Kara. And the very first post in the chat area is the link to that free area inside Kara's website. So jump hold of that and give it a good workout. Yeah, pleased to hear you say that you're looking for who's in the arena with you, Kara, because I was doing some research before we started.
Yep.
And one of the things that came up in that research was that for people who are working through this, a sense of belonging helps to build confidence. And of course, there's a whole bunch of ways you can look at that. If we surround ourselves with turkeys, we're never going to be an eagle, for example.
Yep.
What have you got to expand on that? Especially in these times where we're restricted in our movement to a degree, how can people build that environment around themselves when we can't actually reach through and shake hands? Well, even if in physical, we can't shake hands at the moment.
No, look, to be honest, I'm bringing back air kisses, to be perfectly honest. So, mwah, mwah, all over you.
I love it.
You're welcome. Like, I swear they got a really bad rap for a while. Reach out. Quite literally, Clive, don't wait for somebody to reach out and check to see if you're okay. Please reach out. There are a lot of resources. If you don't feel that you can, if you do feel like you're alone, there are a lot of resources out there. For those in the business community, I'm in there as well. Tag me. Seriously. Reach out to people. Like I said, I have a core set of people that I reach out to. One of them is a friend who is high up in academia here in Adelaide. She has really bad imposter syndrome, but she got to where she is by working hard and getting her butt kicked. So you don't need to have a lot of friends. You don't need to have a very big community. You just need to have a community that you know that you can trust and that has your back no matter what. I think that's the other part of it, is knowing that you've got people that have your back. And I know that you, Clive and Linda, you've got the back of the community in business. You guys work tirelessly, as do the rest of your admin staff, to look after the team. So, and look after the community. So you've got that group there. So please reach out to them.
Clive, can you pop that link in, because it must have gone to all panelists. I can't see it as a public link to be able to share it in the Facebook group. So can you just make sure it's going all panelists and attendees down the bottom so everyone can get it, please? Kara, thank you so much for coming in and talking with us today. Guys, for those of you watching who are wanting support, there is a dedicated thread within BBB for COVID-19, and there's a couple of reasons that we've done this. I feel like I'm going on repeat regarding this one, but Kara will agree with it and agree with me on this. It's to keep the newsfeed flowing with other topics, with other questions about business life, with other questions about space. It is also a best practice recommendation from the Facebook group admins group when Facebook come in and talk about stuff, about having dedicated threads for that area so that we make sure that we don't have fake news being shared to the group. And that's part of the reason why I'm post approval, because if enough fake news is shared to BBB and this is a time that they can do it, that group is no longer there to support you.
Shut down, yeah.
We'll be shut down overnight.
Yeah.
So for those, and I can't have this conversation with you, Kara, while we're here, because I don't think people are understanding that we're not trying to shut down a conversation. We're actually trying to empower you and keep the space safe so it stays.
Yeah. So if I use a little piece of research on the psychology of social media, back in 2012, Facebook actually did some research on how mood is shared and transmitted across Facebook. So what they did was they actually altered 60,000 people's news feeds, and half of them saw all positive posts and half of them saw all negative posts. And guess what happened? Those who saw all positive posts were more positive in their posting themselves, and those who saw all negative posts were more negative.
Absolutely.
Here's the other thing. When your clients see you positively, they behave more positively, they have positive purchasing intent, and they will purchase from you. If you're a negative Nancy on your Facebook, because that's all you're seeing, that's all you're posting, that's all you're doing, they will not want to buy from you. It is pure psychology. So it's good practice. It's helping to prevent the group from being shut down, but it's also good for your mental health and the mental health of your clients if you continue to post and continue to post positively.
Yes.
So
Very
most of us, Kara, see ourselves in a particular way, notwithstanding it might be precisely the opposite to what we're actually presenting to the outside world.
Yep.
How can we look in the mirror and see, gee whiz, I am being a bit of a negative Nancy, or alternatively, I am really positive, and take the appropriate steps to exploit or remove?
I think here's the other thing. A lot of the way that we combat the fake news, and I'm talking and the propaganda that we see online, is by thinking critically. So the way that you can work out whether or not you're being positive or negative online is to think critically. Look at it, be objective, ask a friend. Say, look, you know what, I'm actually a little bit worried. Can you have a look and see whether you think my posts are more positive or more negative? And just ask someone who's in the arena, who you trust, to go, hey, guess what? Yeah, you're fine, Clive. Or actually, you know what? You might want to just ease back on some things a little bit. Sorry to pick on you, Clive, but you asked the question.
I'm big enough; I can cope with that.
You got broad
so
shoulders.
Essentially, what we want to do is we want to look at what we propose to say or write, and think about the message that it's delivering on the one hand, but think more about what reaction is that likely to get.
Absolutely. So when we're talking about social media posts on your business page or in your business Facebook group or emails that you want to send out, please keep positive and please keep your client or your audience center mind. So like I said, with those drivers, fears, needs, beliefs, values and goals, you have them, but so does your audience. So you don't want to be fear-mongering with them. That's not nice. But talk to their needs, talk to their beliefs, talk to their values and talk to their goals. That way you're going to be positive. Like if you look at my hand, I've got 4 drivers up. There are 4 ways that you can speak to your audience positively. There's only one that you can speak to them negatively. You've got 4 tools in your toolkit that you can use when you're marketing to your audience in this environment and remain positive, so that you are going to put them in a positive frame of mind, put them in a positive intention to buy, and hopefully actually get them buying, because that is the pathway. Positive posts, positive intention, positive action, and use that in your messaging. So needs, beliefs, values and goals.
I know you and I have spoken about this before, but this is not a time for fear marketing that, the world's going to fall in capabilities. Because you and I know we could talk about this topic forever.
Okay.
Podcast episode, you and I are going to actually talk about this topic.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of fear marketing.
This is not the time to go, if you don't buy this product now or service now, that you're going to miss out. And it's not a time to say, if you had, and I was involved in a conversation yesterday where it was, business owners should have known better regarding this particular topic. You've got to be thinking outside of the area. And I think of my hairdresser, for example. How does she cut hair virtually? How do you physically do that? There's just no way that you're going to know that you won't go to work. You may not go to work tomorrow.
No.
So we also need to be understanding of where people are at the moment, Kara. And I think that as business owners and those sorts of things, we forget that conversation right now. Have you any tips for our people to understand that process of it, that understanding where other people are at the moment, rather than going, oh my God, my world's falling in, so therefore
Yep.
all my clients should flock to me type thing?
Yeah. So probably two things. One, remember that you're trying to get a person to click on a link. So you need to put them first. It's not about you. You're not clicking on that link. They are. So then it is quite literally working out what those drivers are. What are their fears, needs, beliefs, values, and goals? And the beauty of it is that you can go to your testimonials, you can go to your competitors' testimonials or reviews, you can go to industry-leading books in your area and go to the reviews on Amazon and go, okay, so what did they like about the book? What didn't they like about the book? How did it solve their problem? And categorize them. Is this their fear? Is this their need? And I had a meeting with a client last week, and he said, oh, I'm a coach, I'm a counsellor. How do I work this out? And I said to him, okay, well, let's pick out the niche that you want to work with. And it was bipolar disorder. I said, okay, so what are their fears about bipolar disorder? Or what are their fears about working with you? What are their needs about bipolar disorder? What are their needs from you? What are their beliefs? What are their values? What are their goals about this? So take your offer, your key offer, start there. What do your clients fear about your offer? Or what are their fears around it? And what are their needs around it? And what are their beliefs around it? And you've got these resources of reviews, testimonials, and any feedback that you get. It doesn't have to be online. You get emails all the time. You get feedback from them when you talk to them in the shops or over video conferencing. You get this feedback. So go back to it and start there, and you'll see common threads and commonalities coming through, and use that in your marketing, and you'll get it. You'll get your messaging right, because you're talking to the person who's going to click. You need to take that action. So
Clive, have you got tips on that? Because I know our members don't get to see you as much as they get to see me. He should do more of that, shouldn't he, Kara?
Get on screen. Absolutely. Video is one of the best ways to build relationships with your audience. It's incredible.
We now have Clive doing Monday morning motivations every Monday on his Facebook page.
Fantastic.
We've gone far.
So, what's the biggest thing to allow somebody to be centered in the right space?
Yeah.
Kara mentioned values, and I think Kara mentioned that she has on that site, which we've provided the link to, there's some things about working out what your values are.
Yeah.
Been my experience through quite a long period of time of being here. Most people have absolutely no idea what their values are, and if you ask people what their values are, they'll tell you what their beliefs are, believing that their beliefs are their values. And of course, that's very often totally incorrect. Beliefs are in large part something that I think should be confined to the dustbin. But anyway, that's another story.
That's your belief, Clive.
That's his belief, isn't it?
But if you're able to work out what your values are and then understand what those values mean relative to everything that you do in your life, including everything that you want in your life, it actually puts you in a very clear position. And whilst I was being a little bit flippant earlier, talking about eagles and turkeys gather together because they all share something in common. And if they could think like we think, it would be their values. Eagles gather with eagles because they share something in common. And if they could think like we think, it would be their values. Because we hold dear certain things that we call values. Other people who have similar values, you won't necessarily find people who hold the same values. Similar values will actually be people with whom you can relate readily. Whereas if you're an eagle and you're trying to relate to a turkey, the turkey's very suspicious of you.
I use a similar analogy when I'm teaching client relationships. I look at it as building friendships. When you start a friendship, you try to talk about your commonalities, exactly what you're saying, Clive. And so when you're on social media, talk about your values, and start there. Why are you in this for your client? And what do you value about them and what you do? And you will draw people in, because when you speak about it, there is no grey. Remember how I said that our brain fills the gap with stories? Your client does the exact same thing. If you don't tell them what your values are and what you stand for, they're going to fill it with the stories that they are playing in their head about you or any business whatsoever. So tell them, make it perfectly clear.
And we see that when people what I call industry bash, or they generalize on an industry that, well, marketers are like this, or coaches are like that, or web designers are like this. Now, you've got 3 coaches on screen now. Each one of our clients will be completely different. Now, I might work with Clive's clients, because I have in the past, when they come to me afterwards, or they might start with marketing with me and they need clarity. But we don't work with the same people in the same component of time within their journey. And Kara's the same. There's clients that I've sent her way because I'm like, you don't need me, you need her. Yep. And it's a case of, you can't lump everyone, even just putting the 3 of us on screen together, you can't lump us into the same industry, even though we share very similar values about business. You can't lump us in and go, okay, well, they do this or they do that.
Yeah, and especially like you and I, Linda, where we cross across industries, between social media and business coaching, it's like, man, we get double whammies on that sucker.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously.
Got to watch that marketer bashing. I love that one. Marketers are evil. I'm like, yes, we are.
Social media experts.
Oh, yes, we're horrible people. And God, you got to watch those business coaches, Clive. They're just horrible people.
Yeah, they're disgusting.
And guys, we're throwing a little bit of fun at ourselves this morning, but it's important that you do that throughout this journey.
Yeah.
And just to take up another moment of everybody's time,
we've got a few moments.
Kara mentioned testimonials. Yep. For years and years and years, of course, in selling, people told me that the reason that you get testimonials is to make the next sale. And when I'm talking with people, working out strategies and coaching them on how to do things, I ask them, why do you use a testimonial? And they tell me, oh, it's to make the next sale because somebody else thought it was wonderful. Surprise, surprise, that's rubbish. Absolute rubbish. How you use a testimonial is this. You get it from wherever business provides it to you, and you go, woohoo, isn't this exciting? Because I've just received a testimonial. And you pay attention to what it says, because it tells you whether or not you actually did a good job. But when you have these moments that Kara's been talking to you about, fear and imposter syndrome, you get the damn thing out and read it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if it's a video, play it. It's for you. It's not for anybody else. If it works by bringing other people in, woohoo, isn't that exciting? It's for you.
You're going to be loading those videos, testimonials to YouTube, so help the algorithm by playing them back in loop,
And make sure you comment.
Sorry?
Make sure you comment on
and like it, give it a couple of thumbs up.
That's it. And subscribe. Subscribe to hear more.
But guys, do you know what we just said about engaging and subscribing and listening to those testimonials? That's important and key. And you can do that, and you can make impact right now to someone's business by doing that today.
There you go, yes. Write somebody a testimonial. Well, better than write it, make it on video. Send it in on video, and that way somebody's going to put it on the web and it will never disappear. Now, people in 500 years will be looking at this thing saying, gee whiz, is that what they did back then? Really?
Yeah.
Kara, can you see my TV?
Just a little bit of it, yes.
I brought in a retro TV as well as my retro typewriter that I have in the office that people see. And I was wondering if you'd see my TV.
Just a little bit of it.
Love the history of your industry, but that's going to be funny because Zoom is going to be the history of our industry.
It's funny, just to divert back to COVID, I actually set up an album of memes, COVID memes, on my personal profile. And my husband turned to me last night and he's like, what did you do that for? I said, because in 10 years' time, I want to be able to remember when memories come back up. I got through this by laughing my way through it.
Did you get the pajamas one?
The pajamas one.
There's a day pajamas and a night pajamas.
Oh, no. Send it through.
There was a reminder that came out about 9 o'clock when all the announcements were coming out Sunday night, where ScoMo did his lovely component. Yep. Which said at night, it was coming out 9 o'clock, obviously, when those press conferences were going live. It said, just a reminder that 9 p.m. is the time to get out of your day pajamas and get changed into your night pajamas.
Thank you, Fat Cat.
About lunchtime, as the press conferences were going live again, there was an announcement that said, just a notice, there's been a change. It's now 8 p.m. to get out of your day pajamas and into your night pajamas. I will find it and send it to you.
Please, I need that. That has to go into the album.
I knew you'd love it. Guys, that's where we're going to end today with a little bit of funniness. Please jump in and get involved with the stuff Kara's done. The homework that we're going to set you today, because as you know, I love homework, is to go and empower someone else's business and leave a review. And if it's your first video review or that, just do it. No one gets worse at video. We always get better at it. Or we fumble over one, and that's fine because we do that from time to time. Go and download the course from Kara, Overcoming Fear and Imposter Syndrome, and work out who you are, okay? Because this is the perfect time in Foundations to actually work out who you are as business owners and reassess what you want and what your clients want throughout the process. Thank you, everyone, for joining us and giving up the time. We have a number of sessions coming live for the business community right now. If you feel like joining me over a rather large cup of coffee every morning, weekday mornings, and not Good Friday and not Easter holidays, for phrasing that out, then you can join me at 9:30 every morning for the small business check-in, which is 30 minutes where we check in as business owners and we do a Zoom session like this, but you all get to come on screen and we all get to have a bit of chat about business. We pick out a 5-minute marketing activity from the 5-minute marketing cards, and those guys who've got cards are picking them out at the moment and giving them to me, and we're going to look at exploring that activity. If you go back, today was mapping out your ideas, and we have a bit of a conversation about what it's like to be business owners. So we're getting face-to-face. We're doing that face-to-face networking that we haven't done before. We have the team from InVideo coming to talk to us about how we can use video within our marketing, and Kara, I'll send you the link for InVideo. You're going to love it. It's so cool. And I'll pop a link in for the replay and that for everyone here. InVideo is a massive video tool, but you can do your logo animations using InVideo. You can do, I know, it is so good. You can do logo things. They've got a calendar full of social world ideas like, St. Patrick's Day, Pancake Day, something about potatoes the other day that I saw come up, that you can just use the templates and download the video. So this is time where you can actually create your own content that way. My Marketing Circle members have been playing with this. They absolutely love it. As BBB members, you get to see it next month because the Marketing Circle guys get to see it first. That's just how it works. We have then, Clive, you're in the process, and I will put the landing page up very shortly because it's waiting on me. Sorry, guys. Spent time with you guys instead this morning. We're having a Navigating in Business Summit. Okay, that Navigating Business Summit, Clive is hosting, and it is designed to bring you experts like the lovely lady we have here on screen to share with you the skills that you need to navigate this process. Clive, do you want to tell people a little bit about that one?
Oh, we'll be covering the legal side of things, and particularly the changes that are happening, strategic digital marketing, marketing more of your content, more easily, more better.
Oh, that's good.
Get any mores in there? Perhaps if we go to Wales, there'll be mores there. Financial side of things, what's changing, what's here right now? Well, changing, who knows? It could be different tomorrow, or when we change our jamming.
9 p.m. tonight.
I was going to say, maybe there's been another press conference while we're live here.
We'll be looking at working in the virtual landscape. what else? Avoiding adrenal fatigue in particular. Lots of people possibly don't know what adrenal fatigue is. Go and look it up because it gets you when you least expect it. And the lovely Kara will be coming along to talk about the psychology of change. Yes. And I'll see if I can't find a clue or two about strategies for the changing business landscape.
Wow.
I reckon I've got a couple.
April 6 to 9, is that correct? Is that the dates we decided on?
Yes, it is.
6 through 9.
Thank you.
Yes, it is.
Someone else
I got the email yesterday. Yes, it is.
Beautiful. Well, we'll get that up and running. The registration will be open. There are 2 options. There is one ticketing option, which gets you the live sessions. There is another ticketing option that will get you lifetime replay access to be able to come back and have a look at all this stuff. But it also gets you a strategy session with Clive. That's a $497 or $495. I don't know what your pricing is. I can't remember anymore. Value. I can remember what my pricing is slightly if you put my website in front of me. A value. My head's just a little bit mushy. In value, guys, and that's a personalized strategy session for you to navigate the changing landscape in that process. This is part of our ability to hopefully bring back together the experts for you. That's a bit of a rundown of what's happening. Clive's got his Monday morning motivation sessions. Oh, and we brought back Friday night cheers.
Yay!
Yeah, I know. I'll be back Friday night with glass wine because, you know, I figure we need virtual wine again. And Friday night cheers is where we just recap what's happened in the world of business. We have a bit of a chat. I can get a bit ranty in Friday night cheers, can't I, Kara? Just a little. It's on my Facebook page, you know, it's all good. And we have those conversations. That is the resources and support that we have coming up for you over the next little while. Lots of my workshops are moving online. Lots of Kara stuff is obviously online, and lots of Clive. You've launched a brand new course today too, haven't you?
Yes, with a couple more just about to come out.
Yeah, so there's lots of resources for you to be able to go on and learn and network and Clive, and do and that sort of stuff. So that's what we're about. We're about learning, networking and doing together, and we're just changing the landscape of that for a little while. Guys, once again, thank you for joining us. Make sure if you like this that you subscribe. If you're following us on Eventbrite, you're going to get notifications about the next one anyway. Subscribe to the Business YouTube channel. And if you've got any questions, there is the Facebook Live replay that you can come and ask on. And Kara and I will be monitoring that, and Clive will be monitoring alongside it. And you can ask questions in that. And that's just on the Business Facebook page, separate to the group. It is shared to the group, but on the page is where you will find the live stream. Have a great one. Breathe. Top tips, Kara, for today?
Breathe. Do that 4-second square breathing and remove your shoulders from your earlobes.
Quote of the day. Bye, everyone.
Bye.